What is going on, everybody? This is Goddess Kendra. Thank you for tuning in to another one of my videos. I do apologize. I haven't been making any YouTube videos lately. I've been super busy. So today's topic is I'm going to do a movie review on the movie called The Black Phone. So let's break down the cast. So you have Ethan Hawke as the grabber. You have Mason Thames as Finney. You have Miguel Mora as Robin, Bradley Hipner as Vance Hopper, Madeline McGraw as Gwen, Scott Derrick, Tristan Pravegon, John Ranson as Max, Jeremy Davies as Terrence, and Braxton Alexander as Jackass number 2. So this movie is about a 13-year-old boy who's been abducted by a psychopath, and he claims that he's able to hear voices of the dead children who were kidnapped by the psychopath. Now this takes place in 1978. It starts off with them having a normal baseball game or t-ball, one of the two. They have a game, they go home. And right after they leave the game, a team that won, the guy who said, "Good game, your arm is like mint," or whatever, he was just saying something about how even though you lost, you did a good game, all the girls liked him. He goes home, I'm assuming home, and the grabber grabs him. He's missing. And there's wanted signs, and then in the neighborhood there had been several boys who had been kidnapped previously. The one thing I like about this movie, though, is it talks about spirituality. Like, for you to have a dream about what's going to happen in your dreams, it comes true. That is definitely a blessing from the ancestor. I feel like nowadays, when you talk spirituality, people usually use religion. That has nothing to do with it. Like, we got gifts up in here. So do I. I can dream about something and it'll happen. Example is, before I had my child, I dreamed what he looked like before he was born when I was 13. The only thing I was off with was the color of his eyes. Anyway, so Finney's sister was having dreams. And I know when they were going to school, she was like, I know your friend Robin is missing. I know he was your friend. And Finney's like, why do you say was or whatever? And he's like, they're not going to find him the way he came up missing. So as Finney's walking home, the grabber comes up and acts like he drops his groceries. He goes, "Do you want to see a trick?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Hey, are those black balloons?" He says, "Yes, it is." So then he snatches him up and he's like, "I'm going to scream if you don't help me," or whatever. And the thing that I liked about the boy who was kidnapped was he never gave up. And from day one, when he was in that basement, the grabber said, "This phone does not work. You're tripping. Nobody's going to answer. It has not been working since I was a child." So then Finney gets phone calls from the children who had been abducted, and they all gave him clues. The one thing I truly was heart-wrenching was when Robin was like, "I'm dead," but he goes, "I'm here for you until the end. Yes, I am dead, but you're going to get out of here." He was basically like, "I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die in vain." So he says, what you're going to do is get the phone. You're going to put some dirt in it to make it heavier. He was teaching him how to fight. He goes, you, Finney, don't give up, because the reason why we get along is because you are a fighter just like me. And he goes, remember what I told you a day before I came up missing? He goes, to go see Texas Chainsaw. He's like, no. He said that one day you're going to have to stick up for yourself. And then he goes, you're going to have to kill him. So as Finney comes up missing, his sister's like, Jesus, please help bring my brother home. Why aren't you not giving me no dreams? So prior to before he was found, she had a dream about a victim before I guess her brother came up missing. And it gave the boy who was in the store was playing a pinball machine. Another boy had happened to bump into him. He's like, you effed up my game. And he profusely beats the other young man. And he subscribes in his arm 7741. And it was like she was in the dream with him. So she finds the house where her brother is at and ends up calling the detective. They ended up finding the Finney, and he goes home unhurt. But man, it, like I said before, it's a blessing for the people who are not in the 3D realm to be able to communicate with you through it. And I really felt, I always liked Robin. In the beginning of the movie, this boy Moose was trying to bully him, and these are his words, not mine. He's like, I'm gonna kick your ass, you little beaner. He goes, try. He whoops the older kid's ass, and he gets respect. And I like how before Finney was abducted, he told the bullies to like leave him alone or we're gonna have problems too. And that's true friendship. And I wish people here in the physical realm could understand people really love you. So now I'm gonna read a summary from a website. It is called themoviespoiler.com. And the spoiler was submitted by somebody named Jeremy. Don't know who he is. So Denver, Colorado, 1978. Kids and parents are gathered for a Little League baseball game. Finney Blank is pitching with his sister, chewing him on. Oh, he meant to put cheering him on. Finney manages to throw two balls that get strikes, but on the third, another player, Bruce Yamda, hits the ball and scores a home run, letting his team win. Despite the loss, Bruce commends Finney for his arm. Bruce is later seen riding his bike around town, greeting some girls from school along the way. Then a black van pulls up in front of Bruce, and he stops in his tracks. Finney and Gwen live with their father, an abusive alcoholic still mourning the loss of his wife and the kid's mother after she commits suicide. As the siblings start walking to school, they see a crowd of kids gathering as the school bully, Moose, is antagonizing another kid, Robin Aurelino. To everyone's surprise, Robin is skilled at fighting and dominates Moose, beating his face to a bloody pulp. Finney and Gwen keep walking, with Gwen mentioning a local kidnapper known only as a grabber, since they have learned that Bruce has gone missing. At school, Finney is bullied by three boys who follow him into the bathroom and call him names. Robin enters and threatens the bullies if they mess with Finney. Robin also encourages Finney to stand up for herself. Meanwhile, two detectives come to the school and speak to Gwen in the principal's office. Gwen claims she has dreams related to the missing children taken by the grabber, but she cannot explain the meaning behind the dreams. The next day, Finney wakes up to find his father beating Gwen because of the cop visiting his job, asking questions regarding Gwen's dreams and the correlation between that and Bruce's disappearance. Gwen breaks her dad's liquor bottle and he beats her harder. He orders Gwen to say that the dreams are not real, as her mother has similar dreams that were believed to be paranormal. Later on, Robin is riding his bike around the neighborhood. He then turns the corner and finds the grabber waiting for him, holding black balloons, which were also reported as being seen when Bruce went missing. Parents around the neighborhood are informed about Robin's disappearance. The bullies at school then go after Finney and start to beat him, but Gwen defends him by whacking one bully over the head with a rock, causing him to bleed a lot. Gwen gets kicked in the face, and the other two bullies continue beating Finney. Later, during class, Finney is paired with his crush Donna as his science partner. She offers sympathy for Finney getting beaten. Finally, Finney splits from Gwen as they walk home, and he encounters the grabber's van. He poses as a regular man spilling his groceries, but once Finney spots the black balloons, the grabber attacks Finney and sprays his mouth with a chemical to knock him out before he's thrown into the van. Gwen and the other kids from school soon learn that Finney is missing. The grabber brings Finney to his basement and keeps him prisoner. There's only one window, but no way for anyone to hear him if he screams. The grabber taunts Finney, but assures him he's special. On the wall is a black phone that is disconnected, which the grabber claims to have hearing rings before. Later, the phone rings again, and Finney answers. He hears the voice of Bruce, who notes Finney's arm in baseball, calling it Mint. However, Bruce doesn't remember his own name or what he did when he was alive. Bruce gives Finney a tip about the space in the floor where he can move a tile and begin digging. Finney spends his time digging and flushing the dirt from the toilet. Gwen has a dream where she seeks a flashback of Bruce's life from childhood and his developing interest in baseball. Mr. Blake talks to Gwen, saying that her mother would talk about having dreams that are visions just like Gwen does, and he thinks that this drove her to commit suicide, so he wants to prevent Gwen from falling down the same path. The grabber brings Finney eggs and a Sprite, assuring him the food is clean. He always leaves the door unlocked, but as Finney walks towards it, he hears a phone ring again, and he hears the voice of a local paperboy named Billy Morin. While talking to Finney, his ghost appears next to him, his face having been slashed by the grabber. Billy tells Finney that the unlocked door is a trap, and the grabber will be waiting upstairs for him with a knife. Billy mentions a cable he left in a crack under the wall. Finney grabs a roll-up mat and slides the cable up the window bar and attempts to climb his way out, but his weight causes the bars to get pulled off, leaving him with no way to get back up. Another flashback dream shows Billy's life as a paperboy delivering with his dog before the grabber got him. The detective goes around the neighborhood and speaks to a man named Max, who is doing his own investigation in the missing kids. He tells the detective that he is staying with his brother for this time being. Meanwhile, Gwen tries to take whatever info she can from her dream to try and find her brother. The grabber asks Finney his name, but when he lies about it, he throws Finney a newspaper showing the news of his disappearance. When he leaves, the phone rings again, and Finney speaks to a boy named Griffin. His ghost appears floating beside Finney, and Griffin tells him about a lock combination that he had written down. This is part of the game the grabber likes to play with his victims, called Naughty Boy. I would think that that's sexual abuse, but let me not read too much into it. Finney finds the numbers, but Griffin cannot remember the exact combo. While the grabber is sleeping, Finney sneaks upstairs and tries every combination he can think of until he unlocks the door. Unfortunately, the grabber's dog Samson barks at the sound of the unlocking, which wakes up the grabber. Finally runs out of the house and only makes it barely down the street before the grabber catches him. Neighbors turn on the lights, but the grabber threatens to kill Finney right then and there if he makes a sound. He waits until the lights turn off before he takes Finney back. The phone rings again, but this time Finney hears the voice of a local punk named Vance Hopper. A flashback dream shows Vance at an arcade where he fought with his two kids after one of them messed up his high score. He was arrested shortly after, and the flashback Gwen finds herself alongside Vance, who is talking to Finley through the police radio, but Finley cannot hear Gwen calling out for him. They end up at a house where Gwen tries to remember the numbers. She later rides her bike through the area to find the house and is spooked by the ghosts of the grabber's victims. Finley listens to Vance's advice and finds a space between the wall where there is freezer. Finley tries to push through the door as hard as he can, but no avail. He begins crying, fearing that he will die there. The phone rings one more time, and he answers it. It's Robin. He remembers both Finley and his own life. He tells Finley that he was always his friend, and that now it is the time that he really needs to stand up for himself. Robin tells Finley to practice using the phone as a weapon and to fill the receiver with dirt and adds some heft to it. Gwen contacts the detective and goes with them to the address she saw in her dreams. While this happens, Max comes to the conclusion that the missing kids are in the house he is staying in because the grabber is his brother. He gets to the basement and is shocked to find Finley there. Just as Max attempted to help, the grabber kills him with an axe to the head. He goes after Finley, but the boy has utilized all the help from the ghost kids and his disposal. He sets a rug over the hole he dug, using the cable to trip the grabber and drop him into the hole, where he breaks his ankle. After it hits the bar for the window, Finley then begins wailing on the grabber with the phone, and it rings one last time. Finley forces the grabber to hear the voices of the victims taunting him over his demise, and Finley snaps his neck. He grabs a steak from the freezer and throws it to Samson to keep him distracted. It's the dog. The detective searches the house but finds it empty until one officer finds a basement. Instead of finding Finley, the detective finds the bodies of the other 5 boys buried in the dirt. The house where Finley was being held is across the street. He unlocks the door and steps out into the sun, where Gwen sees him and runs to her brother. The authorities take care of the kids, and they are picked up by their father, who cheerfully apologizes to them for how he treated them. Finally, Finley returns to school more confident than before. The kids see him as a legend for killing the grabber, and the bullies no longer dare to mess with him. He rejoins Donna in the science class, but he tells her to call him Finn. That is so crazy. Like, I don't understand why parents tend to shame their kids for their talented gifts. Now, I'm not gonna lie, to commit suicide is very selfish. But I know for a fact when you find out something that's unpleasant and you constantly get dreams like that, that can definitely drive you crazy. And people who aren't spiritually inclined would never understand what it's like to have these kind of gifts. And I've always told parents, believe your children, embrace their gifts. And the film, I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up. Ethan Hawke looked real weird in this film, and it kind of creeped me out. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And please take a listen to my podcast. I'll put the link in the comment. And you can listen to that on Spotify or Anchor. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.